Welcome everyone to the No Bullshit Gymcast podcast. This is a big welcome to the real Stephen Bell, Warrior Reborn. Obviously, that's what you're under on your Instagram, Steve.
Yep.
Tell us all a little bit about you. Do a little bit of an intro. I'm really appreciative of your time today. I know you're really, really busy as a businessman as well as an entrepreneur and everything else.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the invite, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, just a bit of background really. So got into health and fitness probably around age like 13, 14 while I was at school. It was a mixture of like just wanting to like look good, male attention, and also to be better at sport. I think that's kind of how everyone gets into it at school.
Yeah.
Had some decent results in them first couple of years of training. That led me into bodybuilding, which I first competed at age 18, then competed right through the junior ranks until under 21s. Sort of the highlight of that time of my life was competed at Mr. Universe under 21s in Austria, so sponsored by the UK to go and do that, which was obviously nice. Um, and then continued to bodybuild into the open categories, but didn't actually compete in open. I think it's probably something that you'll adhere to as well, Chris, is that gap between age 21 to open. It's hard to fill that for a lot of people, obviously, unless you've got unbelievable genetics. But yeah, didn't end up competing in the adult ranks. And then these days, I actually do more around sort of hybrid approach to training. So bit of resistance training, bit of martial arts, jack of all trades and a master of none.
I don't know about not a master.
Yeah.
Guys, this guy is a phenomenal HYROX competitor. He's laying it down a little bit short of himself there, I think. Guy's a mentalist. I've seen him and his training on his videos, and yeah, he goes and does a full HYROX sesh, weight training, and then he goes off into the old mountainside and does like a 10 plus K run in some ridiculous times. Yeah, no, you're
Yeah, I try my best. I think it's one of them things that I think again, Chris, you'll put, and a lot of the listeners will be the same time. We're doing stuff to just keep our heads right more than just, not just the physical. And yeah, getting out in nature and being sort of an all-rounder definitely does that for me and allows me to excel in sort of like business and family. So yeah, that's the reason why I give everything a go.
yeah. So with Warrior Reborn, obviously that's part of your branding within like your coaching, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that because obviously I'm not trying to be sexist here. You obviously work with both sexes, but predominantly work with a lot of men, don't you?
Yeah,
You promote a lot of men's health as well as mental well-being. So obviously the impact
absolutely.
of visualization and positive mindset and performance. Tell me a little bit about that, how you do that with your guys, because I think a lot of people, like you were saying, we do it, especially us coaches, we do it for our mental well-being as much as anything else. Now,
Yeah.
trying to portray that onto our clients sometimes until that light bulb moment it goes like that and they switch and think, oh shit, yeah, I get it now. They don't understand it. So how do you try to put that across to your clients?
Yeah, I think that obviously there's massive amounts we could dive into here, but initially a lot of the guys that I'm working with are people that usually business owners or people that are considered high achievers.
Yep.
Maybe they are doing really well in sort of the corporate world, maybe they're doing really well in business, but then they almost feel like something's lost, like something's quite missing. They don't really understand sort of the place in the world, if that makes sense. And I think that mental shift and that allowing that visualization, like foresee something beyond just the career, the business, and the family, to allow people to sort of thrive in the modern day. So it comes from a place of, I think men are quite lost in this day and age. And I think one of the reasons for that is sort of the lack in masculinity as a general consensus. So when I put the Warrior Reborn together, it's about sort of redefining mission, re-establishing purpose, and understanding what we actually want from life as a man. And obviously, health and fitness plays into this in the masses.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on this. Is I think the male masculine way of life is sort of like diminished quite a bit. And I'm not like again, I'm not trying to be sexist here and say women have downgraded it, etc., etc. But I think a lot of men have lost their own accountability to keep that
100%.
going, and be the man of the house, be the man of, the time, even if they're not with someone.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, I know a lot of clients, some friends as well, literally lost themselves by the wayside, literally bad times, etc., etc. It's about picking you up and being the best form of yourself after anything bad happens.
Yeah.
But obviously with your warrior, reborn and stuff, do you find that these guys are obviously they're high achievers, businessmen and stuff like that? Do you find that they find this side of life really, really hard? And especially in an
Yeah.
age range of say 30 plus, it gets a lot worse.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that men, usually in their 30s, between 30 and 40, they almost go, people say, oh, they're having a midlife crisis and you're trying to buy a supercar or you try something different. And people say, oh my God, he's going through midlife crisis. He's changing as a person. But I think one of the biggest changes in identity for a man come between the ages of 30 and 40 because we kind of understand what we want from life, but then we don't know if the life that we've built is actually aligned with that. And it causes a mass load of confusion. And then in terms of, especially if people are married and with kids and stuff, they've built the family, they've got the kids there, they've got the wife, they've done well in their career or they've built a business. Most have lost or potentially boredom. And then again, on the flip side of that, if it's someone that isn't actually with someone, they're sat there thinking potentially, well, I understand what I want from life now, but I don't really know how to get that. Why have I not achieved these things that other people have achieved so far? And I think the biggest way the most conversations I've had with people, the easiest way to explain it is people say, I just feel stuck or I just feel lost. And it's that whole self-identity and understanding who you are and
Mm.
what you want moving forward. And because it's changing between that 30 to 40 age range, you kind of think to yourself, I should have everything figured out right now. Like I should understand this. I should know who I am and where I'm going. But people don't, and men, as you know yourself, men don't want to put their hand up and go,
Ah,
I'm really stuck right now. I need help.
yeah, yeah, you got
And it's okay to do that.
you got to. But now this is my interesting theory to this is this so-called midlife crisis thing. Now, I don't think there's enough research or positive research, shall we say, into the fact of us men in generations have gone, no, it's fine, just put it under the rug, leave it, don't worry about it, and we don't worry about our own hormonal balance. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, my next sort of topic I want to get into is obviously performance enhancing drugs, right? Now, obviously, we'll go down the testosterone route and leave it at that instead of going down the whole rabbit hole of PEDs, right? But do
Yeah.
you feel that the guys that you work with possibly are lacking in their hormonal function of life, and that's where they get to like 30, 35, 40, and it's like downhill, and they just think it's an excuse. Oh, it's a midlife crisis. Don't worry about it. But really, it's not. It's their testosterone
Yeah,
levels are
yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. I think that definitely plays into it. And I think in this day and age, people are probably a lot more aware to it than they used to be. Like regularly, people on podcasts like we're doing right now, or people just in the gym scenario or in general life will talk about, oh, did you know testosterone declines? Did you know that can influence how we think or how we feel? So I think there's a lot more awareness around it in this day and age. I think despite that, I think men are still obviously kind of feeling lost between the age ranges. Like how much that's implicating it, again, I wouldn't know because like you say, there's not loads of research on that specifically, but I think that it is something that does need raising more awareness around
Mm.
and talking about like we are now because it's massive. And when you look at from a female perspective, and people say, "Oh, the female's going through the menopause," it's a widely sort of accepted thing or something that happens, and everyone's aware of it. But from the male perspective, I don't think that people are aware of it quite to that level. And I think it could explain a lot of things that do change around that time, and how that definitely does implicate things.
But do you now, obviously, people, we are like ourselves talking about it in the podcast today, and other podcasts have spoken about it. But do you think now, where a lot of people who probably really do need it are hiding away because it's like, no, 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 I'm fine, I'm fine.
Yeah,
But on the other side of it, people now are using that as an excuse and going, oh yeah, I'm going on TRT. I'm going on TRT. And their idea
yeah,
of TRT is like 500 megs a week.
yeah,
Or,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah, yeah, I'm doing a full
Yeah,
blown cycle.
of
Yeah.
course.
So do you think there is a danger of that perspective as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, definitely. I think there is two camps there, exactly like you've just said. So you've got the camp that maybe don't fully understand it and don't want to dive into it, and that maybe look at it and be like, TRT is steroids, like you're a steroid user, which correct, they are steroids, yes. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad in inverted commas. And I think that comes down to a lack of understanding. But also, yeah, like you say, that other camp of where you're saying, um, I need to be on some TRT because, and then they're blaming their whole life problems on.
Not tidying my diet up. I'm only
Yeah,
training twice a week. I'm
yeah,
eating junk food every night. Sort all of that stuff out first, man. Before
yeah,
you go
100%.
down this rabbit hole of going, oh, I'm on TRT. Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. It's the magic. It's the magic injection every
Yeah,
week. No, it's not the magic injection every week.
no. It's really not, and I think it's just one of them things as well. Is like we say, as the awareness grows and people understand it a bit better. Like I obviously I've got a gym, I own a gym, so I speak to people in the gym all the time that they're coming over and they're like, I'm thinking about just running TRT. And I'm like, okay, so do you know what your test levels are now? Do you know if you even need it? Like that's the first point of call. Obviously, check your levels because if you don't need it, what are you going to inject it for? And then you've got another camp of people that are like, oh, what do I do? Do I come off it? Do I stay on it forever? And I think that's another important thing is that when we're going on testosterone replacement therapy, that is really forever because why are we going to stop it? We're essentially what we're going to downgrade our testosterone levels when we hit like 50 for what reason? So yeah, I think there's a lot of discussion to be had there around that and a lot of education for people as
Yeah,
well.
but then again, it's like I was saying on my previous podcast, is the lack of real education and real guide out there.
Yeah,
Anyone can jump on it online nowadays, and I'm sure you've had this discussion previously. Is anyone can jump on it? I'm now a coach. I've done a
yeah, yeah,
bodybuilding show. I'm a coach. I'll prep you. Oh yeah, yeah. We'll put you on 500 megs a week of this and take that. That's what I was doing, so I'm fine, not a problem.
yeah, yeah,
That sort of thing. It is a real problem. This miscommunication of information out there.
yeah.
Obviously, how do you find that with your business online, as well as obviously running a gym? Which guys, if you're ever up north in the north of England, where exactly is it again?
It's a place that you would never go other than to come to my gym, which is it's Barrow in Furness. So it's South Cumbria. So the best place to explain it to anyone is the Lake District, which everyone knows. It's about 25 minutes from the Lake District, 25 minutes. So
So
if you are ever up this way and you do want a good gym, then obviously
yeah.
check out Transform Physique Gym. But yeah, there is no other reason you would ever come to Barrow than that.
Well, you can all gauge at his gym, and I'm sure he'll give you a very nice daily rate going on there. Viewing
Absolutely.
podcast. But with regards to that, obviously you get a lot of people coming to your gym anyway, or locals, and then you've obviously got your online training as well. Do you find that it's with the amount of people you've only got in your gym, they're seeking quality information, or are you still seeing a lot of shit quality like information coming into your gym with your local like guys?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Actually, it's a conversation I was having with a friend last week. So Barrow tends to be about 5 to 10 years behind everywhere else, which is just bizarre, but it's like secluded. So what you see a lot like trends and information and things happening like comes to Barrow loads of years later. And what I've found with this in terms of like the knowledge and the understanding, the education is definitely a lot higher than I'd say like 3 years ago. People are at least talking about these things and at least want to understand it to a point. The biggest range of people that come into the gym that still have that old school thought process are usually like old school bodybuilders. Like you'll know these guys yourself. You've probably got them in the gym where you're at, and it's like,
Yeah, it's old school. But I get it. It's like, back in the day, it's whitefish, rice, broccoli, 5 times a day.
Yeah,
Thanks very much. See you later. Goodbye. There's your diet
yeah.
plan. Stick to it. Don't eat anything else. Don't put any sauces on anything. Don't salt and pepper your food. Nothing. Yeah, those guys. Or
Yeah,
you get the opposite end of the scale now, where it's like, oh yeah, every bit of macronutrients, micronutrients, and you're like, yes, well, I'm having chocolate.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I can fit ice cream into my macros. No, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah,
Really?
loads of pizza, no nutritious food.
Yeah. Like, oh man, I can have a Macca's on my cheat day. What, you're having a cheat day? Whole day? Yeah. Cheat day, 10,000 calories. Right, okay. Those sorts of people. Yeah. So you get different types. So I understand that. But do you find it's worse online than it is in the gym environment, or do you find it the opposite way around?
Yeah, I think it's worse in the gym environment. I mean, I'm personal experience with this, obviously the conversations that I have in my gym, but I think online there is a lot of good information out there now. There's obviously a lot of bad as well, but I think that the people that are wanting to learn and are actually interested in these things, I think they do tend to seek out the good information. Um, yeah, I'd say definitely better online, just being exposed to more quality information. When I do speak to these guys in the gym, a lot of the time it's like maybe their dads told them stuff or the old school bodybuilding gym they used to train at, they've got the information from there. And a lot of it is outdated. And a lot of people struggle to understand the concept of it, I've found. What about yourself? Do you find that online's better or
I,
worse?
I, I'm, I'm very lucky. I train in a very niche bodybuilding gym. So,
Yeah.
and for what I have in my area, it would probably be something a bit like what you've got, but you've got a lot of HYROX stuff with your gym, where this is literally just like selected pieces,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
old Nautilus, like pullover machine. And it's all hammer strength or Atlantis or Nautilus or hammer strength, right? So
Yeah.
Cybex, like the owner Gav Gibson, you probably know of him. He's a bodybuilder, ex Natty Pro. He deliberately went out and got this one Cybex hack squat that he had to have, that sort of thing. So I'm very privileged with that. Um, so a lot of people in the gym are like very focused on bodybuilding. So it's like keep
Yeah.
myself. It's not really like, oh yeah, we'll have a discussion about this, and this, and this. But when I was PTing, the information I found was better in the gym than I do online. I just think there is a lot of scapegoats out there who read a little bit, put their Chinese whispers onto this bit, and that comes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that the industry itself needs to do something about it, but it never will. So you have to accept it.
I think it's very difficult. I think to reiterate the point you're saying there as well is like, say for example, someone's got a big following or they've done really well as a competitive athlete and needed to fun off the back of it and decided to be a coach. Just one thing for everyone listening: if someone's a good athlete, doesn't mean they're a good coach. It's two very different things. But the understanding that them people want to put out information, and it might not necessarily be the best, but because they've got a huge following, they're getting listened to by many people. And I think that is definitely one of the downsides of the internet. But I try to focus on the positives of it. But yeah, there is definitely the downsides.
Definitely. So, i.e., we're talking about information and stuff like that. So, this misconception with strength training, like guys, girls, if you honestly, after this, on the back end of this podcast, I'm going to be putting all of Steve's like stuff. You have to go and follow this guy and watch him train. It's ridiculous, right?
Appreciate it.
No, it is, mate. It is ridiculous. But this misconception of like strength training for men, i.e., what do you find the best split? Because, and the reason I'm asking you is, A, you've gone all the way up to 21s opens in bodybuilding, guys and girls. Like I say, watch this guy do his HYROX stuff. It's like there's just sweat everywhere, and he's like, um, he's beating himself up. Honestly, it's like it's funny at one point, and you're thinking, "Nah, I can't do this. I can't do this
Too
for
much.
myself." And it's too much, and he's just like, "Yeah, come on, get going, do more." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. This is a problem now." Um, but guys, girls, honestly, So with this, what do you find? Because obviously you've done both sides, both aspects.
Yeah. I think you've got to look at what's the objective. So what are we trying to achieve? So if it's maximum muscle gain, and that's obviously what the aim is, and that's what we're going for. There's a couple of different things that I like to try and put into that program design. So if I was designing a maximum muscle gain program for a client, I like to hit each body part twice a week. That's one of the main core things that definitely changed over time for me. Like back in the olden days, it was one body part per day. I'd go in and train chest until I physically couldn't move my chest for like the next 5 days.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a need to do that. I think that also we have to take into consideration the level of the client. I think that the more advanced someone is, that they can handle just by nature if they've built that work capacity. I also think in relation to intensity, I do like to go to failure most of the time. But again, I think it comes down to the experience of the client, because one of the things that I did find through over 10 years of PTing is that if you say to someone, say 3 reps in reserve, if someone's very advanced and really does know where failure is, they can do that. They can stay 3 reps in reserve. If you're talking to someone that's beginner to intermediate, they can't stay 3 reps in reserve. Like they will think they were 3 reps in reserve, but really they're like 10 reps in reserve. So most of the time when I'm coaching intermediate clients, I say go to failure, because realistically it's probably not failure. Um, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Because if you look at it in the aspect of, say, you or I were training, we know where failure is. We know where we can hold it and do repetitive like sets, reps at that point and that level. Where if you were to bring in an intermediate or an advanced beginner, what I would say is that they're going to think where your last 3 reps are. Actually, that's like 10 reps this down, way down, and it's like they'll be like, all it is mindset of that aspect. I'm thinking about 10 reps.
Yeah,
I've got to get to my three last reps. There's no way I'm going to get there. Well, then
yeah,
I'll get
100%.
I'll get rep 7 out. Yeah, I'm fine. No, you're not. You're like way back down there. So I get where you're coming from that on that one. Um, so yeah, with guys, so if that was specific to a guy, say for instance, HYROX, how would you like?
Let's just what 1 second, Chris. Can we pause this and come back to it 1 second? Let me grab my charger. 2 seconds.
Oh, hope you guys are really liking this podcast. Hopefully Steve's going to have some more time on his hands further down the line. We'll get him back on. He's sorting his charger out.
Definitely edit this bit out.
I'm going to keep it in, mate. It's a bit of contras, you know.
It flashed up in the corner. It was on 100%. I can't believe the amount of battery usage from this.
Yeah. It's live streaming, isn't it? So stream. But yeah, guys. So Steve's back from getting his battery charger.
This amateur that you've got on the podcast.
Amateur I've brought on, instead of having a big bad desktop, he's like, I've got my little laptop now. Don't worry.
Oh dear.
So yeah, as I was saying, how would you do your split? Say, for instance, if they wanted to do HYROX, because I'll hold my hand out. I know jack shit about that whole sport. Not interested in it. Don't mean to be rude, but yeah, that'd be my idea of nightmare.
You have to try one HYROX session and see, but yeah. So in terms of
the corner, and I'll be throwing up in it, mate.
well, that's definitely guaranteed. Yeah. Resistance training for HYROX. So I usually take into consideration 2 things. The first one is this person actually also interested in maintaining a reasonably level, of muscular in terms of physique? Some people are, and some people don't give a shit. So if it's a person wanting to train for HYROX that does not care how they look, no interest in muscle mass, purely performance, then that would dictate the program to be very different, because we wouldn't really incorporate any specific bodybuilding training. We'd obviously still strength train and train for explosive power, etc. And if that client did need some more muscle mass that would then translate into extra power for pushing sleds, for example, then there may be a little bit of bodybuilding training there to create new muscle tissue. But for the most part, there wouldn't really be any. If that person, however, is interested in looking really good while they obviously do HYROX and they want to either gain a little bit of muscle mass or at least maintain it, then I personally go with at least 2 sessions a week that will be bodybuilding specific, and that will be an upper and a lower session. And I find that that's definitely enough to maintain tissue.
Right.
If we were then looking to gain it, it usually then goes into another upper session. Most men want a bigger chest, bigger arms, and bigger shoulders. So then it will be the 3 sessions.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's like interesting because, like I say, hold my hands up, guys. Don't know anything about it. It just looks. I'll just stick to my bodybuilding back in the day. And I just well,
You never know, that may change because I always thought there's no way. I used to look at people that run marathon. Well, saying that's I look at marathons are idiots, even though I do. Stupid, daft. But I used to look at endurance sport and think, how boring. How can anyone be interested in that? Like I was like bodybuilder to the core. Um, but yeah, I guess things do change.
I've got a perfect excuse, mate.
Go
I've
on.
got last knee, mate. No running.
Well,
Phone. Firing
you
on phone for
you'd be
like
great on a bike. Plenty of long distance bike events.
no. I mean, I was a sprinter at school. I used to play in the backs when I was younger for
Yeah,
school back. So yeah, no, that's
been and gone.
long gone days. Those are. Anyway, so obviously we'll get onto a little bit, obviously to do with this. Obviously your HYROX training, and then obviously you do a lot of bodybuilding sort of stuff. Do you find your nutritional timing for these two things are completely different, or is it a case of they're quite similar? In case guys and girls out there don't really understand the timing
Very
factors.
good question. So, uh, I think this is something that people can overly complicate massively. So, for the most people that are going to be all right at HYROX and all right at bodybuilding, um, I don't think it matters too much. But let's say we're talking to someone that's relatively advanced, that does like keeping a good level of muscle mass and is looking for good times in HYROX, like round about the hour mark. So, quite a high standard. I think nutrition is very similar between the two. I personally like to be very well fed when I train bodybuilding or a HYROX session. I think that intra workout nutrition is very important for both. I'm a massive fan of that. When we're looking at anything like recovery capacity after a session, again, we're looking at refilling glycogen stores. We're looking at consuming enough protein that's going to negate that breakdown process. And then obviously utilize it to synthesize more protein and more muscle tissue. So I find nutrition to be very similar between the two. The balance that people tend to struggle with is getting the amount of food right, because when we're doing bodybuilding, for example, we're expending pretty much the same calories every single week. We're doing the exact same sessions. We're doing the same cardio if we're doing some. We're doing the same steps. And that's very easy for the body to then understand where we're at, and we can fuel accordingly. When we take this more hybrid approach and we're doing some endurance stuff, some resistance training, some HYROX sessions, etc., it's harder to gauge where expenditure is. So that's why I kind of take it on a session by session basis. Session well fueled in terms of intra workout, and everything outside of that kind of remains the same. The only major change that I would make is, say on a Sunday, for example, usually tends to be a Sunday, is that if we're doing some long endurance stuff, so if we're doing a 3 hour run on the trails or we're doing a 3 hour bike, obviously that does change nutrition a lot more than any other day because of the amount of expenditure.
That's cool. That's cool. I get it. No, I was just wondering if it was very much based upon the same sort of methods, or if it
Yeah,
was
very much the same principles, especially if you are still doing some resistance training. So all the same guidelines of obviously 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight as a rough gauge. Usually 1 gram of fat per kilogram is what I'd go for, especially at maintenance or above. Remainder made up of carbohydrates.
That's cool. That's cool. So, guys, girls, we'll go into that in another sort of podcast about how to break down your carbs, your fats, your proteins a little bit more in detail on another podcast. Now, obviously, these guys you're training with are pretty high end people, aren't they? Right, most of the time. So they've
Yeah,
also they've also got a pretty good training understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
You find that you have to sort of strip some of these guys back to bare basics, learn that like mind muscle connection and stuff like that. Is that a case of that, or is it a case of who you're personally working with is that much more elitist sort of status?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think anyone is. So one of the main things that you'll probably be able to confirm this as well, Chris, certainly with myself as well, is and I've been training for close to 20 years, maybe just a little bit more, is that I think no matter what level we get to in whatever training style, it's always good to reset back to basics. So something as simple like you mentioned as like a mind muscle connection. You'd think after 20 years, I would understand that. Every now and again, we get carried away with ourselves and we want to lift some heavier weight, and the ego comes into play. Next minute, we're squatting 5 plates or whatever we're doing. And we can kind of lose that sometimes. So I think that the guys that I work with, it's always good to just have that reminder, have that reset. There's no problem with stripping things back to the basics.
Do you find though with your clients? I find that with people or suggest it to people, they take it as an insult.
Yeah.
Like, whoa,
Yeah.
time out, guys.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with resetting. You might find you might be able to, if we reset your hand positions or your elbow position, you might find a little bit better position. And next
Yeah.
minute, bang, you're benching like, 4 plates, five
Yeah.
plates,
Yeah.
a lot easier. So, guys, Steve, we're a little bit short on time today. And like I said, I really appreciate your time. But at the end of each podcast, I want to do 3 myths that the industry I want to break completely.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
These number one, low carb craze. Now, do you think they're effective or misleading?
Ooh, depends on the person. Gonna be diplomatic about it. I think it depends on the person. I personally hate low carb. Cats, nothing makes me feel worse than low carb.
I know I've seen this guy's cheat meals or whatever meals out, man. It's like, how many plates are on that table?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I can see your 2 little kids' plates, and then I can see your partner's. There's like another 4 plates still. What the hell?
See,
Eat for
that's my
12.
excuse on a Sunday. If I've done 3 hours on the trails, then I'll justify that in my own mind as to why I can.
So you hate low carb. I hate low carb. I just,
Yeah,
I don't mind carb cycling,
yeah,
guys and girls. I'm sure you've done a little bit of carb cycling in your past. You
yeah,
probably do it
100%.
now, where you probably have a higher carb pre-training and a higher one later. And if you're getting ready for going on holiday or something, and you're carrying a little bit more timber than you want to, you deplete your carbs off later in the day.
Yeah.
So second one. Now this is like I don't understand this one. Is intermittent fasting.
Yeah. So again, not a massive. I've tried it. I've actually tried it a few times. It's funny you should say. I tried it about 2 weeks ago. One of my things is I get up about 4 o'clock, work consistently for as long as like brain power allows. I'm trying to get the most done then. And there's that many studies that actually do back up intermittent fasting won't kind of mess with obviously blood glucose levels, brain power, etc. And there's so many people that are like, oh, I feel great from it. I've tried it countless times and I feel fucking horrendous for it. It's just the low blood sugar, it just doesn't feel right
Well,
at all. I rarely advise it. Rarely advise
this
it.
is what I can't understand. You've got a very, very big influencer who's an ex-Olympian, guys and girls, ex-Olympian, and I think you know who I'm talking about, not mentioning names, pulls out a 72-hour fast.
Yeah, no,
I'm like,
no.
I'd be on the floor. I'd be like ready to kill
Yeah.
someone. I want food. You know what I mean? I'll be like, don't come near me. The house is, under house arrest for 72 hours. I'm not allowed out. But then
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. I don't really understand it. Now, my final one before we let you go, mate, because I know you've got a big meeting after this, is the myths of physical training and how it matters for the human body. With some of these people out there, and I'm not going to, slag off people. If they don't want to train, they don't want to train. But don't, as you and I would probably know, don't come and complain later in life.
I think it's one of them things, and this is something that I actually speak to my mother about So my mother doesn't train. She's physically active. She walks the dog and stuff like that. But the difference that physical activity can make to your life immediately and for the future, there is nothing in the world that will do the same as that for you as a human. And I say it to some of the guys all the time that come into the program and they're in bad shape. And I say to them, and I know this is very like bro or like man, is like if you get a six pack, you will solve 90% of your problems. And it's not the six pack that solves it. It's the process of getting there.
Everything else. In
The physical activity, the good nutrition, the going to bed on time, they're not drinking alcohol anymore, they're not taking drugs. All the things that you need to do to get a six pack is what plays into you having a better life. So it's the fact that people still dismiss it baffles my mind.
it is such a mega important thing. And then like we won't even get on the topic of like, you know, the magic pen at the moment because it drives me nuts. I'll lose my rag. I've got a meeting later with someone, and I'm desperately going to try to steer her away from doing it again. She's done it already, and like put the weight on
It's
and
what it's a shortcut, isn't it? Everyone wants
sticky
shortcuts.
plaster
So
over a crack. It's not going to hold. Like now you've got a celebrity, a very, shall we say, Ozzy Osbourne's wife, Sharon, is talking about suing them.
yeah.
And I'm like, she looks a third of
Oh
the.
really?
Yeah. There was a big post of it yesterday going out. She looks horrendous, mate. Looks horrendous. She looks like
Yeah,
90 with no
really.
muscle on her whatsoever. But the scariest video, and I think a lot of people, if you ever see it flying around online, is a 28-year-old girl who decided she was going to take it. And she's got osteoarthritis in her spine.
Yeah, seen that
At
actually.
28.
Hmm.
28 years of age.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary when there is obviously I'm not saying it's an easy fix, but there's cleared methodologies that physical activity, good diet
Yeah.
that we can do. So it's interesting. But anything that's a shortcut is going to get people's attention. I seen a clip actually. Someone sent me it yesterday. It was Dr. Mike is Happy Strength in America, and he was talking about myostatin inhibitors, and he was saying basically, obviously, I mean, you know what they are, but for everyone listening, whatever Ozempic does to cause you to lose more fat, so stops you wanting to eat, and then other physiological process and biological process does inside the body, myostatin inhibitors are the other way around, which will cause more muscle growth. And apparently they're very close to coming out as well. But again,
But the thing is,
we don't know about them.
there's not enough info there. But I saw a report. I've got a girl, well, a friend of mine in Australia. She's coming on to do one podcast with me on menopause. And she put up a post yesterday with a professor from America, and they're saying like women in their like from 40 plus should be literally on 2 grams minimum of protein
Yeah.
per pound.
Yeah.
Basically, you should literally, the older you get, the more protein based diet you should be having, regardless
100%.
of the calorie factor. Because the body, if you're doing it with regular weight training or resistance training of some sort, your muscle mass obviously is going to grow exponentially more
Yeah.
than what it's doing now. So you're going to have the benefits from all of that. But on top of that, they're saying it's better for menopausal women. Now,
Yeah.
but like you say, they're going to try to bring out myostatins.
Everyone's going to use that. Of course they are.
Yeah, I don't have to do anything. I'm going to sit on my sofa.
Yeah.
Jab.
It is
Guys,
scary. I say it to people and people tend to look after people a bit more health conscious in this day and age, and they potentially look after themselves a little bit more. But by resistance training and eating high protein diet, you can actually make yourself live longer. Like you can extend your life and quality of life in that time.
guys and girls, there is there's a paper from, I think it's Harvard. Don't like quote me to that, but it's Harvard. The bigger the quads you have, the longer you live in life.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're saying
Yeah.
this. So, guys, I'm gonna let Steve go. Thanks very much, Steve, for this,
No
mate.
problem at all.
Definitely like to have you on another time if you're willing to come back on at some point.
Yeah, 100%. Be
I will
I'd be happy
be
to.
putting all of your stuff on at the end of this. Once it's edited, it will be going out. I'll send you a copy of that. But guys,
Bro.
girls, thanks very much. This is the No Bullshit Gymcast with Chris and Steve. Thanks.
Cheers, Chris. Cheers, guys.